Remember Quibi?
I try not to. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Outside the Fox, where we explore what's happening online and why it matters. I'm Kim Horcher.
And I'm Steve Flavin.
Steve, you're not AJ.
I am not AJ.
Talk about that.
Well, awkward. No, AJ is on vacation for a few episodes, so I'm filling in.
Steve has been here before. Steve is actually our producer. He does a lot of good work at Firefox, and there's probably no one better to fill in than Steve, so we have Steve.
He's coming back though. We should have an AJ counter, like a countdown. I'm sure he's having a great time without us.
Yeah, but this week we're talking about streaming. What are you streaming?
What are you streaming?
Whoa, I didn't mean to accuse you. But
it's the Spider-Man meme. What am I streaming? Gosh, I mean, I guess you could zoom out and just look at the platforms, because streaming can mean a lot of things, right? It can mean what are you watching, what are you listening to, what are you playing, you know, in terms of like Twitch or video game streams. We've got YouTube, we've got podcasts. There's lots of different platforms that are begging for our attention these days. And I'm curious, how do you decide what to watch?
It depends on how I'm feeling, because sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to use my brain right now. Let's watch something stupid. But other times, I want to watch a good movie, you know, especially recently we've had Spooky Month. That's time to watch scary movies as much as possible.
There is an article that you and I were talking about before the show. It's a New York Times article. We'll put it in the description. Talking about just like the vast content library on Netflix specifically. I think that this is true of a lot of different streaming platforms, but with Netflix, because they were one of the first to really break into original content, and there's just like volumes and layers of original programming that wasn't really a huge hit and is just kind of buried in the platform somewhere. There definitely was a period there, and I feel like studios are kind of reining things in now because the streaming boom is over. Like after the pandemic, it's like there's been a contraction. But there was, and I know quite a few writers in the industry who, you know, remember Quibi? Like they
I
were,
try not to, but I love consuming content about the fall of Quibi, the hubris of Quibi.
Yes. All of the platforms were just buying up content, and it was obviously unsustainable. But for another thing, it's like you end up with all of these like mediocre, you know, not necessarily bad shows, but are they really worth your time? The consolidation of platforms that's starting, there's a shape-shifting that's happening right now with, you know, like not only, you know, different media companies, but, you know, also different tech companies. And, you know, basically every social media platform these days has some kind of a video component or a short-form video component. And they're all sort of becoming copycats of each other.
I think all streaming platforms should put everything new in one spot, so I can go through it and see what I like. Because oftentimes I'll find something that I didn't realize. So I would like to have more of a hand in choosing what I get to see.
Are you on Letterboxd by any chance?
I am on Letterboxd.
So I have a Letterboxd. Movie nerds are on Letterboxd. And I keep a meticulous watch list. And so, you know, oftentimes what I add to my watch list are just recommendations from friends. I find that the human recommendations, whether it's somebody that I know or somebody that I follow whose opinion that I trust, that is first and foremost a priority for me beyond just what the algorithm is like. Here's a recommended TV show that's similar to what you watched before. There's a danger of this loop of just like always seeing the same kind of content.
Isn't that funny though, where, you know, it's supposed to help you, the algorithm is supposed to help you get over your decision fatigue and just square you into what will be good for you. But you never know. Like, I like things across different genres, and sometimes I'll hear about something way too late and it got canceled because I didn't see it right away, that I feel real regret about. Like, I probably would have enjoyed that Jeff Goldblum show Chaos on Netflix, but then they just canceled it.
It's still available though,
It's
isn't
available,
it? Okay.
but now that I know the story's not going anywhere, am I interested?
A lot of what's been happening, and I got to say that Warner Brothers has been very guilty of this because they've been, and this is somewhat unprecedented in entertainment, is that they've been just removing content, just like disappearing the content. A lot of TV shows and movies that have been streaming only, that never saw a physical release or a release in theaters. It's kind of disheartening for creative people. I've known a few people who worked on projects that were just, the studio took the right down and it just either never came out, or in the case of a few shows, that they just they disappeared from the platform even after they were available.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and I feel really bad for the creatives who maybe this was their shot to make their dream show, and then it just doesn't exist anymore if no one can consume it at all, anywhere.
I can't tell you how many times that I open up Netflix or whatever streamer, and I'm flipping through it for probably 10 or 15 minutes just deciding what the hell to watch, and I end up turning off the TV in frustration, or just like listening to music or reading or something, because I literally just can't decide. That's a really big, frustrating thing that I think that nobody has really solved yet is, how do you...
How do you find things you might actually like that maybe aren't indicative of your normal choices? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Is like, how do you create meaningful recommendations? Something that we were talking about before the show, and I kind of wanted to get into, I would venture to say you're probably more of a gamer than I am.
Yes.
I prefer passive entertainment. I like to watch. Have you played The Quarry?
I actually interviewed some people about that at Gamescom when it came out.
This was one that looked so good that I almost literally bought a PlayStation 5 just so I could play it. And then I realized, no, I probably don't actually want to play it. What I really want to do is watch it. And so I had this epiphany that I could go onto YouTube and watch someone play through the game. It's a little weird with that kind of a game because there's lots of different paths.
Yeah, there's a lot of story choices, but it is good for people who are into a more cinematic experience.
I watched the whole thing. It was kind of like binging a show. I actually got really obsessed about like looking to see what the alternate endings were, because after that kind of satisfying conclusion, I was like, well, what other possibilities
were there? Bad endings.
Yeah,
All right,
it's like
bad
kind of like when Bandersnatch was on Netflix.
The Choose Your Own Adventure show.
Yeah, it was an episode of Black Mirror. It was like a Choose Your Own Adventure, and I'm pretty sure I've seen every single pathway of that, but it took me many, many hours to like go down and like remember where you make a decision and then where it splits off. It was kind of an interesting experience where I realized it's a different storytelling medium that these days it's like fairly normal to watch someone play through a game, and that's a big component of YouTube and Twitch. Is just the playthroughs. What's your experience with that? Have you done them before, or did you watch them? Yeah,
I have a mostly inactive Twitch channel.
Okay.
However, I'm really excited about the new Dragon Age game, so I'm gonna stream that. So I do like that, though. The reason why I stopped streaming on Twitch a lot was because it was emotionally taxing for me.
Okay.
It was a lot to just talk and talk and talk for 3 hours. I was just like burned out, and I stopped. So I think there's a balance I need to reach for there. So I tend to shy away from live stream content for that reason. It just reminds me of the burnout.
Circling back to Netflix and deciding what to watch. Something that I learned recently, Netflix has a team that's dedicated specifically to thumbnails. Those of us who spend a lot of time on YouTube know that your thumbnail is pretty much like one of, if not the most important part of your video, because it's literally the first thing that you engage with before you even watch the video. What's interesting about Netflix and how they do thumbnails, they have multiple different versions of thumbnails that appear to you, and there's some debate over how they actually are surfaced in front of people.
I have noticed that the thumbnails change. I've seen it like, I'll go on my account and it'll be all women of color. And then I go to like, let's say my friend's account, and it's different characters. I'm not making an accusation, but I feel like they kind of know what I might like.
Sometimes it'll highlight for me different actors or just aspects of the show visually in those thumbnails that I wouldn't have necessarily thought would appeal to me. It's something that I don't honestly see a lot of other platforms doing. A lot of times there's like the key art that you just kind of like, muscle memory start to tune out a little bit, or there's like variations of that key art that, I've seen on Apple TV, for instance, like they'll have, like a few variations of like their banner image and the show poster, and then,
They'll
like,
slide the characters around in Adobe Illustrator.
it wasn't uncommon in the 70s and 80s to have hand-painted poster art. Nowadays, there's this like sort of superficial, like glowy Photoshop look.
They have to put a picture of every single actor on
Right.
every poster, and it takes away the art of the poster. Just to be like, look who's in this. Look, you like them. But it's like, I kind of miss the art of posters.
Yep.
And art in general.
It's just like a giant head from like the top billed actor, and then just like several supporting heads.
And the heads
And then,
will
like,
descend
little
in
heads.
size to who's the least important actor.
Pivoting away from TV content and thinking about music and podcasts, and specifically, I think Apple Music puts a big emphasis on human curators and playlists and radio stations. Whenever I turn on the Discovery station, it's offering me things that it thinks that I might like to listen to. It's very heavily influenced by what I've been listening to recently, which may or may not necessarily be what I always want to listen to. I have a project that I'm working on outside of Firefox right now that is related to a lot of like 80s heavy metal. So I've been listening to a lot of that for research.
I just listened to a documentary about 80s hair metal.
It's a fascinating era.
It's so weird.
And I kind of love the vibes, but it's like, I could take it in small doses, but then, Apple is surfacing all of this like 80s hair metal that I'm like, okay, I need a break from this. Like, I really just want to listen to some pop music or whatever. Human curation is something that is undervalued by a lot of these big tech companies, that it's really refreshing to see when they do move in that direction. And just curious if you have any thoughts there or experiences with that.
Look, the home video rental store is basically dead, right? But there is something from there that we can take, which are employee picks. I mean, maybe there is a way to put human curation back at the forefront of technologically delivered entertainment. So if I had to recommend something right now that is something that I don't think everybody is watching out there, there is a documentary movie on Netflix called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin. I actually introduced this at like a fan festival at one of my other jobs, and I don't want to spoil it, it's very heartwarming. It's about a young man who touched a lot of lives through World of Warcraft, which is another love of mine.
Wow. You know something I watched recently? It was a show that came out a while ago. It's a limited series. It's on Hulu. It's called Devs. It was Alex Garland is the producer on it. I believe he was the writer. And it's fascinating. It's like what they call a mystery box, right? Where it's like in the first few episodes, you don't really know what the hell is happening. But as the mystery gets revealed with each episode, it's like this tech company that's doing creepy, weird stuff. It's kind of a deep cut where we've been talking about like content that's been buried, and I feel like it's one that I haven't really heard a lot about, and it just came up in my recommendations and had intriguing poster art, and so
Yeah, talk to Steve about this.
like a
don't
good
make him run to
robot, I
Reddit.
just clicked on it,
I mean, it worked. If it works, it works.
What We Do in the Shadows came back. I love What We Do in the
I
Shadows.
love that show.
I love a good vampire show. Interview with the Vampire is
I think
fantastic.
we're all picking creepy shows, but that is one
Well-
of the best shows on TV. And I got to interview the Interview with the Vampire cast.
You mentioned that,
this
yeah.
year, and that was a highlight. That show is so good. If you're not watching it, season 1 is on Netflix. Not a plug, but also a plug.
Well, enough about what we watch. We want to know, what are you streaming? Let us know in the comments below. I'm actually genuinely curious. I love to nerd out on any of this kind of stuff. So
I want to know if it was served to them or if they had to find it too. Let us know, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Download Firefox because you know it's the best, and we'll see you next time.